सहना भवतु सहनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्वी मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवांसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो वरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सुकेशा च भारद्वाजः शैभ्यश्च सत्यकामः सूर्यायणी च गार्गः कौसल्याश्च अश्वलायनः भार्गवो वैदर्भिः कबन्धी कात्यायनः ते हैते ब्रह्मपरा ब्रह्मनिष्ठाः परं ब्रह्मन् अन्वेषमाणाः एषः वै तत्सर्वं वक्ष्यतीति तेह समत्पाणयो भगवन्तं पिप्पलादमुपसन्नाः। तान् स ऋषिरुवाच भूय एव तपसा ब्रह्मचर्येण श्रद्धया संवत्सरं संवत्सतः यथा कामं प्रश्नान् पृच्छत यदि विज्ञास्यामः सर्वं हवो वक्ष्याम इति। अथ कबन्दी कात्यायन उपेत्य पप्रच्छ भगवन् कुतो हवा इमाः प्रजा प्रजायन्त इति। तस्मै सहोवाच प्रजाकामो वै प्रजापतिः सतपोतप्यत सतपस्तप्त्वा समिधुनमुत्पादयते रयिं च प्राणं च इति एतौ मे बहुधा प्रजा करिष्यत इति। आदित्यो ह वै प्राणः रयिरेव चन्द्रमा रयिर्वा एतत्सर्वं यन्मूर्तं चामूर्तं च तस्मात् मूर्तिरेव रयिः। अथादित्यः उदयन्त्यः प्राचीं दिशं प्रविशति तेन प्राच्यान् प्राणान् रश्मिषु सन्निधत्ते तद्दक्षिणां प्रातीचीं यदुतीचीं यदथो यदूर्ध्वं यदन्तरादिशो यत्सर्वं प्रकाशयति तेन सर्वान् प्राणान् रश्मिषु सन्निधत्ते। स एष वैश्वानरो विश्वरूपः प्राणोऽग्निरुदयते तदेतदृचाभ्युक्तम् विश्वरूपं हरिणं जातवेतसं परायणं ज्योतिरेकं तपन्तं सहस्ररश्मिः शतथा वर्तमानः प्राणः प्रजानामुदयत्येष सूर्यः संवत्सरो वै प्रजापतिः तस्यायने दक्षिणायं च उत्तरं च तद्धेहवो तद् इष्टापूर्ते कृतमित्युपासते ते चन्द्रमसमेति लोकमपि जायन्ते तैव पुनरावर्तन्ते तस्मादेतऋषयः प्रजाकामाः दक्षिणं प्रतिपद्यन्ते एषः वै रवीर्या पितृयाणः अथ उत्तरेण तपसा ब्रह्मचर्येण श्रद्धया विद्यया आत्मनमन्विषत् अदित्यमान अभिजयन्ते एतद्वै प्राणानाम् आयतनमेतत् अमृतम् अभयमेतत् परायणमेतस्मान् पुनरावर्तत इत्येष निरोधः तदप्येष श्लोकः पंचपादं पितरं द्वादशकृतं दिव आहुः परेऽर्थे पुरीषीणम् अथेमे अन्यौपे विचक्षणं समचक्रे षडर आहुर् अपरितमिति. So we'll stop it here. And actually, any Upanishad, any knowledge is supposed to be for the Atma Vidya, Atma Pariksha. That is the basic idea, basic goal. Whatever may be the Prashna, it can be looked at two ways. One is that the Prashna, the fundamental questions, they are called Upanishad, take a fundamental question. Fundamental question, what is that? If you think of it, it is where is this creation coming from? What is the way creation comes from? Many times the question is asked, many times the question is understood. Without even that question, it has been taken up. Similarly, does God exist is also another question. Or we also discuss about who am I? That is inquiry of the self. These are all the questions that are there. One view is that all these things will lead us to one simple question of inquiring about self. You turn inwards. That is the basic idea. If you don't turn inwards, what is the use of all these questions? So that means all these questions ultimately will have to point towards that, point towards self inquiry. You are the most important. Why that self inquiry becomes important is human being is having the question. No animal asks this question, so human being has the question. So the moment that we question, that means there is an answer with it. Then only we question. It is like this: when you feel hungry, it means food is there. That's why you feel hungry. If something like food at all, food is not at all there, then there is no question of hunger at all. So like that, the question is there. That means answer is there, and answer should be within you, from within, because that the question comes up. That's a very simple premises. So the here takes up this question of um, that's what is the first question. Of course, before that, he says that go and do service, go and do some work and all those things. He says, brahmacharyena tapasa, so all those things that you do. Then you come to this particular thing. So, Sukesha Bharadwaja, see, these are the students, Sukesha and Shabhyascha Satyakama, and Suryayani Chagargaha, Kausalyascha Ashwalayana, Bhargavo, Vaidarbhi, Kabandhini, Katyai. Why he gives these connections? That means to say somewhere it is gives Gotra, somewhere it gives the father, somebody gives teacher. So why he gives us that? First thing is this knowledge is something which is coming from since beginning itself. And then you are also not somebody who has come just like that. There is so much of posterity. Before that, all those things happen. From that, what you have come as today, whatever it is, all this creation, since the creation, there is something or the other, you are connected with the nature outside. We are all connected with the nature outside. There is no way that you can separate yourself from the nature. The air that we breathe is the air that is there in the outside. When it is inside, we call it as breath, outside it is there. Similarly, the sun that we see, the light, is the same sun everybody sees. So, like that, everything is interconnected. This is what is the uniqueness of the Indian culture, philosophy, or Sanatana Dharma is that they realize right from the beginning that there is no way that you are separate from that, from the nature outside. So therefore, that inquiry about nature outside is inquiry about you because you are also part of the nature. So therefore, he gives all these connections between them, saying that your knowledge, your teacher, your father, your parents, or whatever it is, Gotra, That means what is the lineage that you come from. All are interconnected. So that's why the students' background is also given here. But often people say, why he gives about that kind of a thing? It is to indicate that you are not separate from the creation in the world outside. So, and then what kind of student they are? They are Brahmaparaha, Brahmanishtaha. That means to say, they are already established in the Brahmanishta. That means they are devoted to Brahman. And Brahmaparaha, they practice the practices which are supposed to be close to Brahman, spiritual ideas, spiritual knowledge. Now, there are, it indicates that all these things are there, Brahmapara, Brahmanishta are there, but at the same time, that final, there is another thing that is there that they would like to know, and that is what is Brahma Anvesh, Param Brahma Anveshamanaha. That means they are in search of Param Brahma, what is there behind all these things. So there is one level which is supposed to be good, moral, and all those things, but then there is another level which is supposed to be spiritual. So that the second level, that is deeper level that we need to go, and that's what they come here for. So that's why the eligibility for that, that means to say the adhikara for that is Brahmanishtaha, Brahmaparaha. These things are there. Then only they go in search of Brahma Anveshamana, Param Brahma Anveshamana, te Samit Panaya, Bhagvantam Pitpaladam Upasana. Samit Panaya, that means to say, unless until you come with humility, that you will not learn anything. You have to have that humility. The humility is that, yes, what I know is not sufficient. So therefore, and you know it, therefore I came here. With that, it includes actually Shraddha. It also includes the humility and all that is there. Along with that, when he says that uh, surrender, that is. But then Samit Panaya, this Samitha is supposed to be dry pieces of wood or the twigs. The idea is that dry twig catches the fire easily. It doesn't give any smoke. Smoke is supposed to be the doubts. So Samitpani idea is that yes, I come not with doubting, but with Shraddha I come. That's what is the idea. So it makes the teacher's job simple. So the moment that you go with the Samitpani, that means to say you have no more doubts in what he says, Shraddha is there, and you accept that. Uh, and this whole journey is one of Shraddha itself. In fact, there is nothing like in the material world, the journey is proof is there, laboratory is there. In fact, the way that in the lab that we work is you have to go with the doubt, then only you get the knowledge. You got go on experimenting. So therefore, but in this Adhyatma Vidya, it is not like that you go with the doubt. On the other hand, you go with the Shraddha. Then only that you will acquire. Yes, somebody said something, so he must have had that experience, so that I go in that line. Otherwise, you don't have to go. He doesn't have to worry about you at all. He has already reached that. Like the way I always say that Isa Upanishad says, Arey, everywhere it is nothing but God. He says, Isa Vasamidam Sarva. That's his experience. Now I can take it with Shraddha, or I can doubt him saying that the fellow is a man. So I can reject him. By that, he will not lose anything. I will be the loser. In the sense that I will not have knowledge. So if I want to see that somebody has that experience for in the world where I am feeling that the world is a horrible place and dirty place full of politics and all, somebody says Isa Vasyam. Is there a way that I can see that way so that I can also be blissful like him? So the journey starts with that Shraddha. So therefore he goes with the Shraddha. But then after that also that there is a test that is offered by the teacher to the student. He says, and it's very carefully worded there. He says that Bhuyayeva tapasa brahmacharyena shraddhaya samvatsam samvatsata yatha kamam prashnan pruchata. Here there are few words that are there. One is tapasa brahmacharyena shraddhaya. All these three things that you follow. Now, tapas is supposed to be at the adibhautika level, at the body level tapas. In fact, later on also this tapas word comes several times. At the Adibhutika level, that's what is tapas. And brahmacharyena is tapas is at the body level, at the annamaya kosha level, physical level. But brahmacharya is supposed to be at the prana level. Because basically what happens is that all the desires for the object outside goes through the prana. So therefore, that at the prana level, when you have to control, that's what is the level of brahmacharyana. And shraddha belongs to the mind level. If you want to really make the mind peaceful in the first place, is that you should have shraddha. Then only mind becomes peaceful. Can we really have shraddha? It is there already. Only thing is you use as shraddha. How? Where is that? I don't have any shraddha. Arey, you have a shraddha in the dream. Forget about everything. Every day you dream and you know that the dream is not real. But in spite of it, when you are in the dream, you are in a wonderful state or whatever it is, or whatever terrible state that you are in the dream. That means actually you have shraddha for that. A thing which does not even exist, you have a shraddha. Can you not have shraddha for something which is there outside? So we have the shraddha, we have an ability to do the brahmacharya, and we have ability to do the tapas. Now, what is basically the idea of tapas? See, what happens is, and why do you suggest this tapas in this first place is, like for example, both the legs, you are standing on the legs, both the legs. That's what we do all the time. You stand on the legs. It is normal. What is normal is not tapas. But you stand on one leg, and that's what is tapas. You have gone to Kanyakumari, their Devi is supposed to have stood on one foot and then did tapas. So, if you would have been standing on both of it, then there is no tapas at all. Similarly, anything that comes about, you eat it, it's not tapas. Whereas, you give up all those things and only use live on leaves, aparna, and that also you give up. That's what is tapas. So tapas is something which is normally there, and then you do not go with that normal, but you try to go for something which is different from that. So that's what is. Then why do we do that? It is to recognize that whatever that normally we do is what the nature has given. And the nature is given to all the animals and all these birds, everything naturally, whatever that they do, they are given it. But human being is something that can do something which is beyond what the nature has given. And he can do it. Whether it is singing, whether it is dancing, we can do all those things. That means to say we can develop this ability to see that you don't have to be confining to what is nature. So this is what is tapas. But then why do we do this tapas? Tapas shapes you. Tapas gives a different altogether shape for you. It's like the way a stone is there, and then you cut the stone into nice, wonderful murti, and that's what is the way that if the stone goes through all that chisel, then it becomes like a beautiful murti. That's why they said that a stone which goes through many number of stone chisel hits will become the God inside the temple. So therefore you go and bow in front of it, bend down in it. It's stone which does not go through all those chisels. Equip it in the front step so that you walk on that in front of the temple. So it is up to you to decide whether you want to be at this foot of the stage temple or inside. So this is something that tapas is something which is very important at the physical level. That we go through that. It's like, for example, winter, people go to Ganga and then Himalayas. That cold winter, go and take shower and come out and dip in the Ganga and come out. With the wet clothes, they'll be going down the temple. My God, look at that. There's one fellow who was an Detroit, Ford company general manager, deputy general manager. Came to my classes in Detroit. I said, oh, I don't like all these ideas that going through all this. Why do you have to suffer yourself? Yeah, luxurious life, all these things. That he used to always say. And after about a couple of years, when I was in Rishikesh, we had a retreat there. I mean, IIC course there. I was there for 1 month. At that time, one day in the morning, I just finished because we used to have yajna at morning 5 o'clock. I used to go to the Ganga and then take dip and then came for the yajna. I saw this man is also coming. He said, "What happened to you?" I said, "Yeah, it's so nice to be going through this particular thing. Now I see it's like a challenge. I can do that." He came all the way from USA and then he's doing that. See, tapas actually makes you strong from inside. It's not to fight for oneself, but it is to make oneself strong from inside. And therefore, actually, when you say tapas, it looks for outside people, you don't care for yourself, therefore, that you are giving trouble to you. But actually, you care for yourself so much that you train yourself or you strengthen yourself. That's what is tapas. And so, therefore, tapas, by doing that, it helps you to go to a mind level and strengthen the mind. So tapasa is the one which is basically to see that you gain the strength of the mind. And similarly about the prana, the way that we need to take the prana, the idea is that look, the more and more that you're convinced that whole thing is nothing but Brahman, Brahman has its own activities that are going on. That recognizing that Brahmic activities anywhere, that's what is Brahmacharya. Charya means basically activity. Brahmic activity that you recognize, that's what Brahmacharya. We confuse that this Brahmacharya with the Brahmacharya ashrama in the four ashramas. We don't have to confuse that. And then third is Shraddha. Shraddha is always a journey into unknown. That's what is basically Shraddha is. And known, you don't require any Shraddha. I know what is there, and then I just go into that. Journey into the known is something which is required, doesn't require any Shraddha. When you want to go into unknown, that's what is Shraddha. And that too unknown of the nature where it is not expressed in any way or anything like that, then it requires Shraddha. Like for example, you don't require a Shraddha if you want to go to a doctor to find out what is the whether he is good or not. You inquire few people and then find out, and then afterwards you come to some conclusion. Yes, he is good, he is not good. So many people said it, therefore that he must be good. So it's easily verifiable. But about the Brahman, who is the creator, or your nature is supposed to be Atman. Where is the what way is that? What way can you? Only thing that we have is somebody said it, or somebody you see somebody seem to be living that way, and there is no proof whether it is like that or not. It all the people they create that aura, this, that, and all that. There is nothing like that. So therefore, that you need to follow that Shraddha is required. Same person may be there, but one may not have Shraddha, one have Shraddha. Like same Krishna was there in battlefield. So many people didn't see anything about Krishna, whereas Arjuna could see Krishna is somebody extraordinary. Only Bhishma could feel, Arey wow, what a wonderful thing that's going on in Mahabharata, middle of Mahabharata. I wish I could have an opportunity to listen to at least one word what Krishna is saying. See, that means he had the Shraddha. The Shraddha, that is, you could see something what is beyond. Otherwise, you are not in a position to see something beyond. If there is somebody who is he is seeing beyond, and if I also want to see the beyond, then what I require, what is the support that I have, is the Shraddha. So if you have all these three things, first of all, and Samvatsaram Samvatsata, 1 year that you try to do this. Now, this word 1 year also becomes part of the question later on because this 1 year is a time reckoning. So, time is also born. So, time can also be a question in this question itself later on. What is the creation? The creation we think of only objects, but time is also creation. So we never thought about it. That's what basically in the resolution of this answer later on, he talks about samvatsara. How is that samvatsara? And then all the other things that are created. Samvatsara. Yatha kamam prashnan puchchataha. So that means whatever that you feel like, ask the question. Now, once you do all those things, when you have done all those things for 1 year and then came to me, that means really that you are interested in the question. See, the questioner has to be tested. You see, here the answer is not for the question, actually, the answer is for the questioner. All the other texts they answer the question, but here it's not the question that is answering, but as the questioner is important. So therefore, he says that to show that importance of it, he says, Yatha kamam prashnan puchatah, you ask me whatever the way that you would feel like, yati vidishyamaha, sarvam hari vakshyamaha iti. If I know it, then I will tell you. Then here also there are two things that are involved. He did not say the teacher, whoever is the people, he doesn't say that if I know it, I will give you answer. Because until that time is addressing directly. But here, Yadi Vidishama, if we know it, it goes to plural. What do you mean? Why he went into plural? Because he's the only teacher who is giving the students are five of them, but the teacher is only one, and he's giving the answer. So here the idea is that the teacher, he is not just him. If the parampara is giving an answer, so he's talking about the whole Sanatana Dharma has an answer, then the answer will be there. Yadi Vidishyamaha, that means to say, it is not me. It has to come from the whole parampara. If it is there, Sarvahi Vakshyama. Whatever that is there, Vakshyama. So the teacher does not have an ego of a teacher, is identified with the whole parampara that's giving the wisdom to us. So that's how the wisdom is passed on from generation to generation to generation. What is this generation? Parampara. The parampara is not the parampara of whatever that you say, father to son to grandson. It is that's what is the uh, court parampara, that is. But in the Vedanta parampara is that somebody who is realized to another person who is realized to, it's a realized person's parampara. That means they have experienced themselves in that parampara that he is talking about. Uh, it's not anymore the truth which is you borrowed, it becomes your truth. But again, it is not your truth because it's not the truth belongs to you, belong to the truth. That's what is the parampara. Then the individual is not there, but only the knowledge is there. That's what is the parampara. So any period of time that people can have it. Like for example, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He didn't read any of the books or anything like that. He did not go through all these things. But then he was telling the wisdom because he had that experience, and from that experience he's talking about. And like for example, the answer he gives is everything is that Brahman is there. It looks like an intellectual answer, but for Ramakrishna, it's not intellectual because it's not from the book that he is talking about. Therefore, when Girish Bose argues with him that God does not exist and all that, all that. At the end of it, Ramakrishna gives him a nice hug and says, like, but for God, nobody would have created a person like you. So that means to say, for him, that God being there is not even a point of question. It's an experience. So it is like that. So Yadividhi Shyamaha, when the teacher says, that means when the parampara knows about it, parampara has an answer for that. Yes, parampara has an answer, then it will come to you. It doesn't matter. So you come back. So this is also another very important point for the student because it shows his Shraddha. The teacher says, guarantee I will answer you. A lot of people are there today in this world who can guarantee you knowledge. But here, the guarantee is not given. But in spite of it, the student comes back. Then when he comes back, then Kabandhi, Katyayana, Katyayana is Kabandhi. And youngest son of Katyayana, that's what he says. And he comes, Upetya Prapracha, Bhagavan, Kuto Hava Ima Praja Prajayante, Iti. So, when sir this creation is born, how does this creation come about? A very simple question that he asked. Here from this creation comes. Now there are, uh, you see, somebody has to be so deeply connected with that question, so that he waited for 1 year, he did all those things, and after that he comes and asks that question. So this question, you cannot take it simply, seriously, very deeply we have to take it. It's like the way, like yama niyama, when we say about ahimsa, we take it so easily. Satya, truth. Yeah, truth, what is there? About the truth. And now, okay, let's move to the next yama, niyamas, whatever it is. Whereas Yudhishthira, when he was taught about yama and satya, oh, and then let's go move on like that. Drona says, he says, wait, let me understand this first, then only we'll move on. Hare, how long will it take to understand? I'll let you know, I'll understand. It's not 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 1 month. Hare, you don't allow me to move on. No, let me understand it clearly. What is there to understand? But for Yudhishthira, that was such a deep question for him. Then he says, okay, let's move on. Because he says that if I understand one thing called as Satya, I understand everything. Because if you look at it, Satya is that exists. So existence itself is Satya. Oh, so then what else do we know? What else do we need to know? Then Drona really understood, my God, this boy is not a simple boy. For him, Satya itself is his life. When he was, like primary school student, that's what Drona came to know about Yudhishthira. That is the reason when in the battlefield, Ashwatthama Hatha, they said, is it Yudhishthira said it? Said yes. Then he gave up his life. Because he knows that Yudhishthira and truth, they are inseparable. So that's how basically how important that idea of Satya itself in the life of Yudhishthira, in the life of Drona. It happened like that. In the whole of Mahabharata, that was the like a pivotal thing in that. That's why these Puranas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, they are not simple texts. They have such a deep meaning behind it. So therefore, that this idea called as Kutovaima Praja Prajayante, how the creation has taken place, it's not like any ordinary simple question. It might be taken it from very deep, significant idea. So that if the student has waited for such a long time and asking that question, it must have some deeper implication, meaning behind it. Must have included so many things under that question, and that is the reason why this question seemed to be very simple. Kutovaima Praja Prajayante, then why did he give such a long answer for that? Next about 11, 12 shlokas are there involved in that. It's because the depth that question has. A very simple level question that when we take that, it is about the physical world, about the, it is Adibhautika level. Adibhautika level. Adibhautika level question is that DNA, RNA, and all those things from that is creation takes place. That's what everybody tries to analyze, understand that. But we have also meaning in that Adibhautika level also, the way that we could think of from the, but it's an Adibhautika level answer. Adibhautika means it's a physical, like for example, where ever come from. So this is a simple question. Yes, in fact, when you look at this question from the Adibhautika, that means a very simple physical level, which the modern science cannot reach, that our people have already thought about it earlier at that level, in the sense that what is that the, yeah, this is DNA, RNA, and all those, and then that becomes like that, and they say all that, but then it's not that simple. Not that simple, because what happens is that, see, you have one cell inside you, and then that multiplies itself to become an organ. But that cell becomes that organ only. See, that's why at the cell level itself, It is decided that whether it has become like a bone organ or maybe a part of some intestine, part of this, part of everything is determined there. Where does it come from? Where is that all that coming from? At least even at the physical level, when you take it, at the bhautika level, it's so complex involved in that. It's not all that simple. Similarly, that you put it in this, why about us? You take the plant, you put it inside the soil, and the roots pick up something from the soil and creates the physical tree. But then the physical tree, that particular cell which goes inside, what does it become? Does it become the fruit? Or does it become the leaf? Or does it become a thorn? Where is that decided in that particular plant? Where does it come from? You see, it's very easy to say that DNA, RNA becomes like that. It's not that simple. So that means to say, unless until you go really deep into it, even at the bhautika level, that you are not able to find an answer for that. So therefore, a mere physical examination is not going to give you the detail of where does it come from, the adibhautika level. The second level that we take is Adi Daivika level. Adi Daivika level, yes, our people have given various examples. Like, for example, Adi Daivika is that you have done your karma so that that karma will bring you back, whatever that you have done, that phala will be there. And then from that, later on, so it says that your this Upanishad also says, Punyana Punyalokam Nayati Papena. So that means, say, whatever that good that you do is what is karma with theory that we have very strongly, everybody says. So that karma brings about the bills you have done, therefore that you come back and then you pay for that, whatever that you have done. To an extent, it is true in the sense that it looks, an extent that means to say the way that mere observation, it looks like that. It looks very, because if for no reason I am in trouble, that means I might have given some trouble so that it comes back to me. I might not have seen when did I give the trouble. It may be in this life or previous life or anything. But it comes back to me in the form of a trouble. The same person, same individual may not be concerned. But then the trouble that I've given to somebody comes back to me. And today we can see that. I mean, this makes us also to assume that yes, life after life that we continue. So therefore, basically, that this can be concluded that it can be something which comes from life after life after life. How can you conclude? A very simple idea is that you see the child prodigy, child infant. So they have all these things, and musician at 7, 8 year old. I'm dealing with one child who is a mathematics wizard, and his mathematics is of the order of PhD level, and he is 7 year old, 8 year old, something like that. 8 year old fellow, he says that, uncle, do you know IE equation? He says, what is this IE equation? He uses all the IE equations and all those things. At that level, he functions. And then he goes to the school. The teacher says that. And then he says that whatever that they are teaching is too childish for me. I don't want to go to school. Now, what do you do with it? so, so this is the way, basically, that it shows that it must have come from the previous life. So when the knowledge like that can come from the previous life and all that, naturally, effects also are coming from the previous life. That's a simple thing. But the advantage of that is that now I don't do anything wrong in this life because it's in my hand, so that I can build in the future whatever that I would like to have. Gives us a very big moral stand in this particular world outside. Anybody can be immoral, but I can continue to be moral. And it doesn't depend upon the world outside, it purely depends upon me because I'm a maker of myself. I'm a maker of myself. This is what Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita. Uddhared atmanatmanam natmanam avasatayet. You don't bring yourself down, you raise yourself up. Uddhared atmanatmanam natmanam. So this is what is the way. Second thing, adhyatma, adithavi. The third is the adhyatma level, adibhautika, aditaiva. Adhyatmika level where this creation comes from. And this is where something which is very important. That is, if I would come to say that there is something which is responsible for me to be, and something else is responsible for being in this world somebody else, then that means to say different origins of creation. I mean, you assume there are different origins. It can't be. We all come from the same source. Some single source has brought us up. Whatever the source that I am coming from, the same source that you must be also coming from. Because the simple reason is for that is that when we analyze you or analyze me, it's all the same. Same Panchabhutas are there, same kind of mind, same kind of intellect. Everything is the same. So naturally, there must be something which is one common source from which everything has come. That common source which occupies everything, which we call it as Vaishvanara, or call it as Brahman, one source, Brahman. How does it come? Let's try to understand. That's a different issue. But he comes one single source from which it has come. That source, because it occupies, it it includes everything. That's why it is called as Brahman. So Brahman is the birth, is the from which the whole thing has come. So this is what is the Adhyatmika way of looking at it. So Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, and Adhyatmika. Of these two things, Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika belong to the world outside. So if you can take up Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, then you are in a right path in the world outside. See, as I said, that morally you become improved, better individual, you take care of the others so that they take care of you. See, all these things are possible in both Adi Bhautika and Adi Daivika. So Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika belong to the world outside. So that means to say, all these practices, whatever earlier that he prepared, they are one level where you come from the level of having no discipline at all to a level of discipline. See, one thing is that there was no level of discipline. From that, you come to the level of discipline. That's why Brahmacharyena and Brahmavi, all those things. Then he says that Shraddhaya, etc., etc. So, all these things will make a good person in the society, moralistic person in the society. That itself is a good game. In fact, we have all these temples, we have rituals, and all those things to see that how you can become at that level. That's the reason why we have this idea also at that level, saying that there are, Swarga, there's heaven and hell, and all those things. So, therefore, you reach the various, goes to the gods and the temples, and you offer your puja. See, when you look at all those things, they are they are uh, like they're religious activities. Religious activities will take you to Swarga, Naraka, and all those things. That is, and that's wonderful. That's why we have all these rituals that are developed, saying that when somebody dies, Pitruloka, all those. But when you take it that level, what is it? What is that importance is that at that level, like if I have to go to do some of these things, then I require some money, I have to do some arrangement. So therefore, what happens is it involves me in the world. I will earn money, I will have family, I will have a house, and then I do all kinds of things, charity. Anything that you want to do, you need that. So even to do the religious activities that you require all these things. That means to say your job, your earning money, all these things are important. And your children, they are also important because that they do take care of you, all those things. So that's how you experience the Swarga and Naraka, the heaven and hell. So that they are being taken care of and all that. Normally, that's what we say that maybe, I might have done something sin last previous life, therefore, nobody is to take care of me. So that's why they say, but it's a very beautiful word. Putra Nama Naraka. It's a son whose name is Naraka. Or the Naraka whose name is son. That means this fellow will not do anything for me. How to cross that, take care of some so that you are free from Punna Manaka. That's why he does the puja for you, he does respect you, yes, puts you in the hospital when you are sick and all those things. So therefore, you're free from Punnama Naraka. So that all these things are traditionally say that, when you do all the Shraddha and all that, you are free from. That's what they say, that you should have a boy child, right? So they will take you across Punnama Naraka. I don't know whether now the language has changed. In in a family, girl should be there, not the boy. Boys do not listen to that. As girl will listen to. Earlier, people used to say girl belongs to somebody's house and all that. Now it is no more like that. Nobody belongs to anybody's house. Everybody's outside. But then at least this idea is gone, that only boy child can take it. Orthodox people still have it. But they said, yeah. And if you look into the Shastra, yes, even girl can do all kinds of things. There is nothing like, it's all that Shraddha that's important. So, so therefore, all these things are corollaries that come about. Like for example, if I have to live in this world, I should set up a house, I will get married, and then child is there, and then I go to these temples and all that to see that I charge myself with the idea of these things. So this is what is Adibhautika and Aditya. They're all for this world. Often we think that they are the spiritual activities. No, they are not yet spiritual activities, but at least they are putting you in that direction so that you don't go below that. There are cultures where they don't have any of these things. People are giving up. Actually, in the other cultures also, they had this idea, like, weekly one day that you go to the church. So, and that's such a big day for them. I was in various European countries, and then particularly smaller places when you go there, you so go to the church on Sundays, best dress they wear, and then come to the church and do all those things, sincerely attend all. And afterwards, then there is some merriment and all that that will be there. But that's a very important thing for them. So that means, you see, what is that which is helping them is to see that they go to a higher. But then I wondered one thing, that all the people who come are the old people, 70, 80 plus. Younger people come only if there is some, the baptization is there. And that times, the younger people, they come with the child. Child doesn't know what is meant by baptism. And then, of course, they go through that anointing. They call it. So all that will be there. So therefore, basically, that in our culture, it is not like that. Continuously, there are things which are connected with that. So that what happens is that there is a point, one might come to a level where, why am I doing all those things and I need to go further? It's just not going, getting stuck up with these things at different levels. A few people go to that. That's where the Adhyatma journey starts. Now, that Adhyatma journey, and that is where this question, where from all these things come about. So, from the Adhyatma point of view, when you take it, then it will give a different picture altogether. So, Tasmai Sohuvacha Praja Kamuvai Prajapati Satapotapyata Satapastatva Mithunam Utpadayate. So, uh, this Prajapati is supposed to be Brahman. And he is. So, why he is called as Prajapati is basically the simple reason that he wanted to have people. That's why he's called as Prajapati. So that means the creation to start. It's a very poetic way of presenting it. So Kamayata. That means he had a Kamana. Kamana is of course bad for us. You should not have any Kamana, because Kamana, Dushpurtaha, all those things. That's what Bhagavad Gita says. But then Prajapati had a Kamana. Is a very beautiful analogy we can use it, that our Kamana has a direction. Prajapati doesn't have that Kamana for his direction. It is not for him. Like for example, a river is flowing to the ocean. This analogy somebody is given, that's so beautiful. A river has a direction to go towards ocean. River flows and creates all that big noise, etc., because it has to go to the ocean. All that is there. But you see that ocean also has waves, and ocean also continuously making all the noise, everything. If you are by the side of the ocean, you will be constantly hearing that sound. Now, what is that the ocean is trying to do? Ocean is not trying to do anything. Ocean is just playing. Ocean is just playing. So our Kamana is like the river Kamana. Prajapati Kamana is like an ocean's Kamana. So there is nothing that he has to get it. That's why it is called as play. Any activity that you do as a play, that means you are part of that Prajapati. Any activity that you with the Kamana with a particular direction, that means you are like the way that the river. There is nothing wrong about it. River has to go. Therefore, that there are so many Kamanas that we can have in the form of a river. That means to say yes, let the house be better, let the people be more number of people can come to me, and then I have much money and food so that I can distribute the food to the others. See, that's what the Upanishad mantra say that Bahvannam ka prapniyat. Yaya kaya kivadiye Bahvannam prapniyat. Let me have more and more food so that I can distribute to the people the food. So that's how the very kamana itself is something which is for the sake of others, or for the sake of improving the world outside, for the nature, for the society, for this, for that. It's not for the self, but for the others. That is there. This is all one kamana. But Prajapati's kamana is beyond that. He doesn't have any extra mind. He's not interested in any particular thing. It's just a play. So that way, the aspect of that kamana, which is in the form of a play for us, is supposed to be the Prajapati kamana. Satapotapyata. Then he does the tapas. Now, as I said, tapas is something, whatever that is natural, it come out of the nature, that's what is tapas. Now, here that applies here. Prajapati's nature is all pervading everything, but then he has to give up his nature to come to something which is of lesser, that means constraint. That's what is Satapotapyata. That means to say, Paramatma, which is there, all pervading, has to become a Jivatma. Now, there's a small little border there. So you are a border, I am a border. I have created a border. Inside me, that is the same as Paramatma. But then only thing is that we have created a border. Yes, you are within your border, I am within my. Tree is within itself, and then, so a border is created. But then activity that goes on inside is Paramatma activity. Same Paramatma activity going on. It may be a mango tree giving a mango fruit, or maybe a coconut which is giving a coconut fruit. It's all Brahmic activity only, but it is limited to only confined to that kind of activity. It's not. So it itself confined. That's why I had given this idea. I thought this idea. We have in several other places also it comes, Shastras, is that this coming into boundary and then creating an activity is supposed to be the way that yajna. Like for example, Taittiriya Upanishad also says that food and hunger, the Brahman divided into food and hunger. Brahman is satisfaction, divided into food and hunger, annavan annado bhavati. When they come together, it is satisfying. Again, it comes to satisfaction, but then this division is there. There's a play that goes on. And this play is constantly going on. How wonderful it is. So, therefore, that this is how basically there are two created, and there is an activity that's going on between these two, and that's what is proposed. Yes. Now, this question comes, then now your prana is yajnana kalpatam, apana is yajnana kalpatam. This is what in the Rudra Prashna that we say that. But then yajna yajnana kalpitam, that means who created that yajna? No, no, Brahman itself is yajna. So it does not have any other reason to create. So, so Prajapati has created this as a play. There is no reason for that. Not that this is very important because many other faiths they said Brahman is fall. Yeah, Adam and Eve, they fall, and that's how the creation has taken place. Even in our culture, also there are some people who say that this creation is Maya, bad, negative. Brahman is wonderful. And Brahman has become, and Brahman is not fall. There's nothing like a fall. So therefore, basically, it is not a fall, but it's a place that is created. That's why he says that Prajapati Satapotapyata. Come out of that, Tapatapas Tattva, Vidhanam Utpadayate. He created this two, so that interaction takes place, activity goes on. And once it is created two, it can become two. Now, what makes it to become two is that Brahman says total freedom. When we say total freedom, real total freedom is that where who can give up the freedom also. That's also freedom. To become something which is of a lesser freedom. It's his choice to become of a lesser freedom. And that things of a lesser freedom. Why? So that it can interact and cooperate and coordinate, so that activity can create. This is the beautiful idea about Brahman, giving up its own freedom so that it can become a lesser freedom. Like freedom is like the way that you have money. Money you can buy anything. You can buy food to eat, you can buy a house to live and all that. But once you make food to eat, now you can't buy a house there. Because that it has become already one. I have defined it. When you think of it that it is your choice to limit it to one particular area, it's your choice. You enjoy that. Something else is there, yes. You do something else. But then every time that interaction has to take place, interaction can only take place when it is confined. Same food that we take, same energy that is there within us, but some energy out of it can become a cell which can only become the bone marrow. There's another cell which can only become bone. Now that bone cell will become bone marrow cell will become. But then it's all within us. And look at how beautifully it's going on. It doesn't say that today you have taken this food or that food, therefore I'll become this, I'll become that. Nothing. It just organizes itself and they live so beautifully in such coordination within us. So the food that we take, as a very simple example, as much as that the plant I said that it takes something from the soil, it itself becomes a leaf and then something becomes like fruit and something becomes like a seed inside the fruit. Wow. And they don't fight with each other. It's so happy. Why are we fighting then? Are we not the same way different creatures created out of our own freedom? And each has become like its own. There is nothing like you are big, I'm small. That's why this competition and all those things. I don't see the meaning in that. You are you, am I? There is a question of that. No, I'm better than you. You are better than me. There is a question that we have all this comparison started unnecessarily, like the way well, not only we compare, but we compare the others also, like the dog show. Dogs are compared. Dogs do not mind that, but we have all those things. This is better dog, this is better dog, all that kind. Here also, in the evening when you go, people take out their dogs for a walk and all that early morning also. Then they keep, how is your dog? How is this? How is that? And anyway, point to discuss for them, engage themselves. Otherwise, it's something which is there. Just accept the variety. That's the idea. So the first thing, this Midunam, is actually two are created. The original two that is created is Pranancha, Raincha. This is what is very important. Prana is the beginning directly from the Brahman itself, is first became Prana. And the other is Rai. Rai is matter, Prana is energy or whatever that you call it as. When we call it as energy, the energy does not have uh, the freedom of humanness, human being. Like for example, electricity is there. Electricity is a tool in your hand. Electricity doesn't have a freedom of its own. Electricity plus a freedom that you have is what is called as the prana. Fire plus the freedom that you have is what is called as prana. Therefore, we never consider these things as non-human. The rest of the world looks at all these things as non-human. We call it as human. Now, that same energy, we don't have a better word, that's why we call it as energy, but it is prana. Prana itself can become many. Prana itself can become many. So, pranamcha, rayamcha. So, what is that? Ray is the base on which that prana. Now, this is very important thing to say is that, like Upanishad, Annavan Annado Bhavati, it is the hunger which enjoys the food. See, please understand that it's not you are enjoying the food, the hunger which is enjoying the food. If you are enjoying the food, if you don't have hungry, and you try to take food, what will happen to you? You can't. So, therefore, first of all, you must be there and you must be hungry. And then the hunger you give it food that it should enjoy. Annavan annado bhavati. So, therefore, that annam annado is one which becomes like uh, the, the same way here. What happens is that the Rayi is the object outside, Prana is the one which enjoys, interacts with the object outside. When both these things are there, that's what is the creation. Only Rai cannot make the creation. Only Prana, Prana is Brahman. There is no manifest creation. So when this introduction is the one which creation, like the way that later on comes into the picture, that if you look at the sun, from the sun all the way to the earth, sun ray is there. But then you don't see anything when it reflected on. That's why he gives the example of moon there. On moon it is reflected, and you see the moon shining. But is it really moon shining? No. Moon is a neutral object. That's all. Sun reflects on the moon, therefore you see the moon. That means to say from the sun all the way up to the moon, the rays are coming. Yeah, it's always there. The sun is everywhere. But sun himself cannot be seen unless until reflected on the object outside. So therefore that object is necessary for the sun to become manifest. So the combination of sun and object, the uh, the earth or the moon, that becomes the creation. So therefore he says that Rayim cha pranam cha yete te bahudha praja karishyati. So this twin, this duality, is the one which gave rise to the whole praja, everything in this creation. Ja means actually birth. Prakashena, whatever that is born, is supposed to be the. So all these things come because of these two. So now what is the first one that is there? Adityo Havai Prana, Raireva Chandrama. So Aditya is supposed to be the sun, is supposed to be Prana. Chandrama is Rai. Rairvaya tat sarvam yan murtaha cha amurtaha cha tasman murtireva cha Rai. Whatever that is manifest, unmanifest, everything that is there, the Rai is the one which is behind all these things. It's a very important statement in the sense that Rai, that means to say matter is there, created, and on that the object will reflect. Now, in the outside world, that is what very easily we can understand. But it's not only outside world. These days I'm doing Mandukya Upanishad also. There, are you not creating the dream world? So there must be an object there so that on which that something is reflecting. And there you are the sun reflecting on the object, so therefore you see the object. You are the sun, therefore that is called as Taijasa, Tejo Matra. You are the Tejas giver. Who has given the life to the dream? You have given the life to the dream. So you created that. So if the light there also has to reflect on some object, it created an object. It's a very deep theory. That is what Shankaracharya has given us, saying that Whatever the objects that are there, its subtle form is always there. You have taken it inside, and that subtle form has got all the qualities of the object outside, so that you reflect on that, so that object becomes reality. When object becomes reality, then you are frightened about that same object. You created, you reflected, and then you are frightened about that. So therefore, that dream object is also, it is dream is a very clear uh, process of how the creation takes place outside. The same thing about the dream. So the object is there, and the reflection is there, and then that reflection is the object that you see. So murtam cha amurtam cha, and murtireva raihi. So everywhere that there is an object which is supposed to be moon. Ravi, Rahi is moon. Aditya Udayantya. So now this Aditya, sun, is a very analogy, beautiful analogy he uses, is that sun rises from the east, sun rises, and then he spreads his wings, his power, both onto the Aditya way, Udayantya, Prachim Disham Pravishati, goes to the uh, Prachim means basically eastern side, it comes up and then goes to the Tena, Prachan, Pranan, Rashmin, uh, Rashmishu, Sannidhatte, at the Dakshinam, at Prachim. So then he goes to the south, he goes to the north, he goes to the west, and then top and bottom. And that he spreads everywhere, making it, it's the same sun which goes into everything. So that means the idea is that whatever that you see, it is nothing but you are seeing the sun. And that enters into the whole rai and then makes it lively. So that means to say it is the sun which is making lively. And the life that you see is nothing but sun only. The plant that you see, the sun, like particularly in the European countries where it is cold all the time, when the spring comes, wow, the moment sunlight comes, you see that all the plants start suddenly getting flowers and then giving all those things, dancing. They enjoy that. We don't have that opportunity because we always have sun here. We always have these flowers. There it is like that. When this spring comes, then winter goes. The flower comes up. It's a wow, beautiful flower. First time when I went there, what is that beautiful flower? Why are you so afraid? They say, "Oh, you don't understand. For 4 months we didn't see one bit of a green leaf, and now we are seeing the leaf and the flower. The joy is totally different." And he said, "You will only understand if I make you to sit here without food for 7 days and then bring food in front of you. Then you see the beauty of the food." So it is basically it is that sun which is actually manifested. We are seeing that. Anywhere, anything like light that you see, anything life that you see, it is nothing but sun. Just as much as that the sun that is there, Aditya Havai. So ऊर्ध्वं च यदन्तरादिशो यत् सर्वं प्रकाशयति तेन सर्वान् प्राणान् रश्मिषु सन्निधत्ते. And that is where basically it holds. So Sannitatte is a very, it's like it thrills you. It just makes you feel, wow, beautiful. I mean, Bangalore also, continuously 1 week of sun is not there, cloudy is there, and suddenly sun comes up. Thank God sun has come out. So make you chill, make you feel. Actually, that's one of the reasons why the places where that sunlight is not there, people go to depression. Uh, so, so therefore, this whole thing is now you see that very simple idea is that it's in the plant, it shines. It's in the any object, it shines. That is there. So what is that which shines in object? They are not two separate things. As I said, the sun itself is the one which shines. That sun which shines in all these objects, or in the other is, it is the sun who is enjoying these objects, the sun who is recognizing these objects. Why he said like that is that, like, if that sun were not to be there behind your eyes, behind your ears, you wouldn't have expressed all those things. So, like the way that you are experiencing that, through your senses, they are also experiencing the way. That's how that they you see that the same thing, whatever that is the consciousness which is there within me, is the same thing that is there in the whole nature outside. And this consciousness, which we call it as something which is common to, is called as Vaishvanaraha. That's why he says that Yeshe Vaishvanaraha Vishwarupaha Pranaha Agni Tadetad Richa Abhyuktam. So Richa, that's what is Rigveda, talks about that. In fact, Rigveda talks about the Agni. Agnirmire Purohitam. That's how the Rigveda starts. So the whole thing that he talks about in the form of divinity, it's all nothing but the same Vaishvanara. Vaishvanara also comes in the Mandukya Upanishad, Vaishvanara, Taijasa. Whatever that is the wakeful world that is there, it's all nothing but Vaishvanara. In me, whatever enjoys is Vaishvanara. In you, whatever enjoys is Vaishvanara. Through eyes or ears and this and that and all this. Vishwarupam Harinam Jatavedasam Parayanam Jyotirekam Parantapam Sahasrashmihi Shatatha Vartamanaha Pranaha Prajanam Udayantite Suryaha. So the Norse understand that which is in the form of resplendent and the highest goal, once higher to be thousand eyes sun, exists in the hundreds forms as the life of all creation. The whole creation, the form of various lives in the soul creation, exists that. Then what happens is now this is where the object and all those things and also the time is also part of this. See, like for example, once the mithunam, that means two are created, interaction takes place, then there is satisfaction, then that's over. But then it is not over. After some time again, that they become hungry, and then food and hunger come together. So that means there is pulse which is going on. If you look at that, so this pulse that is created is actually the time. So this midhunam is the one which creates the time. So same way Aditya and Surya and Rai, or the whole cell, they created this time. And therefore that is Samvatsaro vai Prajapati. So once you get come together, as I said, that satisfaction, that's what is Brahman. That Prajapati itself is the Samvatsara. Samvatsara is one time. That is. Now from there all these things are separation takes place. Now there are two things. One is called as the Dakshinayana and the other is Uttarayana. Going down, that is going up. So naturally it has to be there. Once it goes up, it has to come down. Once it comes down, it has to go up like a pendulum which is swinging. So both these things have to happen. So therefore that there is a time when it is going down and a time which is coming up. This two concept is there everywhere. So in yoga also we have these two concepts. One is the abhyasa and the other is vairagya. Abhyasa is that where there is a vairagya, just let go. But let go is not opposite to vairagya, is not opposite to abhyasa, but it's a base for the abhyasa to start. Where from the abhyasa start, if you look at it, when there is no abhyasa, from there it starts. Discipline is not there, from there the discipline starts. So, like this is what is the base for that, and that's what is the base for this. I always think of very small, little simple, normally a leaking tap. You see that slowly the water bubble is growing. That growing is very systematic, and you can actually measure every microsecond how much it grows and all that. But at one time it just drop, finish, over. So what is it growing for? To see that the drop takes place. The drop is vairagya, is what abhyasa. What is the difference between abhyasa and vairagya is? Abhyasa is that it is progressive. Vairagya is non-progressive. We have both these aspects within us. Non-progressive. Suddenly happens. Like for example, You are having a doubt, and then an answer comes. Between this clarity and the doubt, a sudden jump is not progressive. Oh, correct. Change your memory. You forgot the key somewhere. Oh, I remember the key. Is it progressive? No. So then, how many things are there within us which are sudden jump? So this aspect is also there. That aspect is also there. Both these things together, what the creation makes. Pranamcha, Rayamcha. That's what the things that makes. So now slowly look at that. He started with with the cosmic music. Suddenly he brings about the time. Now in time he brings about various other details. Very poetical. We'll stop it here. We'll continue next time. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.